The Burning Woman presented by Absolutely Haunted. Dingo. Hurry up. My dog glanced back at me, but my words seemed to mean nothing to him. Maybe he really was too spoiled? Dingo. Come on. He ignored me, his nose buried in the damp grass, weaving through the bushes with an unsettling determination. He had picked up a scent, one he wasn't ready to abandon. My stomach tightened. Great. Probably some rabid raccoon or. Dingo suddenly bolted toward me, tail wagging wildly, but he didn't stop. He rushed right past me, straight to the front door of our new home, whining and pawing at the frame as if something was waiting on the other side. We had recently leased a condo on one side of a duplex. It was an older building, but the company I had rented it from had taken it down to the studs and had rebuilt it. Today, it is almost a brand new house. It is a part of a whole revitalization effort for this neighborhood. Most of these houses had been empty for decades. The neighborhood was so bad that most people refused to live in this area. But things are changing. Companies had invested in the area, and the neighborhood is now on the rise again as a desirable place to be in the city. Still, there was something about the place. Something that made the air feel heavier than it should. As I reached for the door handle, I caught movement from the corner of my eye. A figure, just a glimpse, vanished around the building next door. I shook it off. Just another neighbor taking their dog out for the night. I opened the door and tugged at Dingo's leash. He froze. His nose hovered just over the threshold, sniffing in quick, cautious bursts. I know, I said, forcing a laugh. Smells different, huh? He looked up at me, eyes dark with something I couldn't place. And then he backed up a step, his body tensing. A deep, guttural growl rumbled from his chest. What the hell, Dingo? You all right? Before I could react, he lunged into the living room, his paws skidding across the floor. He spun in a frantic circle, eyes darting, searching for something unseen. I swallowed hard, my pulse quickening. We watched TV for a couple of hours, and then I did my night routine. Dingo stuck to me like a shadow for the rest of the night. He followed me from room to room, his usual independence gone. When I finally crawled into bed, he leapt up onto the bed beside me, a first for him, as he usually preferred his dog bed. I patted his side. Wow. Moving's got you freaked out. He didn't react. Didn't even acknowledge me. If I didn't know better, I would say he was unhappy for some reason. His breathing slowed, his body going slack as he drifted into sleep. I wasn't far behind. The light woke me. Blinding, unnatural, flooding every inch of my bedroom. My eyes burned, struggling to adjust. Next to me, Dingo let out a low growl, deeper than I had ever heard. It vibrated through the mattress. When my vision cleared, I saw why. A woman stood by my closet door. My breath caught in my throat. She shimmered, her image flickering like heat rising off pavement. Transparent, yet solid enough that I could make out the details: high-waisted bell-bottoms, a halter top clinging to her frame. Her long, dark hair hung straight, parted down the middle, framing a face I couldn't fully see. She wasn't looking at me. She was staring into the closet. I knew almost immediately that this was not my imagination. I also knew she was not a flesh and blood person. I don't know how to explain it, but she was shimmering, her image was wavering, kind of like heat waves. The fact that she was slightly transparent was also a good giveaway. I found myself thinking that I was looking at a ghost. A ghost who was entirely too concerned with my closet at the moment. Dingo shifted, positioning himself over me, teeth bared, but the woman didn't react. It was as if she was trapped in a memory, lost in a time loop that had nothing to do with us. Then, she spoke. A cold wave of terror crashed over me. Dingo lunged forward, but his body locked up mid-movement. My breath turned to ice in my lungs. She wasn't talking to me. She was talking to something inside the closet. The door creaked open, and with sudden, violent force, she reached in, her hand striking out at something unseen. The sound of flesh meeting flesh echoed through the room. Again. And again. And then she pulled him out. A boy. No older than 6. He tumbled onto the bedroom floor, scrambling on hands and knees, his sobs cutting through the suffocating silence. The woman grabbed him by the collar of his t-shirt and yanked him toward the hallway. I tried to move. tried to stop it, but my body wouldn't listen. I was rooted to the spot, frozen somehow. Dingo whined beside me, his hackles raised, his muscles trembling with frustration and fear. Dingo loved kids, I could tell it de-stressed him, and he wanted to protect the boy. She dragged the child down the hall. I forced my limbs into action, breaking free and following, my heart pounding so hard it made my vision blur. I reached the bathroom just as she shoved the boy into the bathtub. The water sloshed over the edges. He thrashed, screaming, his small hands grasping at the tiled walls. Then, slap. Sharp. Unforgiving. That was it for Dingo. A final growl and he leapt at her back. He passed through her, coming down with a yelp of pain on the edge of the tub. The boy fought back though, his tiny fist colliding with her face. She staggered, stunned. And then, with a desperate burst of strength, he wrenched himself free and bolted past and right through me. I turned, watching in horror and rooting him on. As he ran for the front door, grasped at the handle, and then he was gone. Dingo had run behind the boy, past my legs like a runaway locomotive. He skidded to a stop as the boy ran through the door, and I never loved him more, knowing his efforts were in vain. Still, I watched him turn back toward me. I watched him spread his muscular legs, lowering his head. He placed himself between the woman in the bathroom and the door the boy had run through. It was obvious, he thought she would have to go through him to reach the child. He did not understand he couldn't fight her. The woman lay upon the wet tiles, sobbing. She climbed carefully to her feet and followed the young boy's trail down the hallway, but when she reached the living room, she veered off and went into the kitchen. I was right in my thought that she was not aware of Dingo or my presence, as she walked right past us, never acknowledging us, not even when Dingo dared her with a low growl. I suddenly had the worst headache I had ever experienced in my life. It was so agonizing that I fell to my knees. Dingo ran to me whining, nudging me with his nose to get on my feet. I was dry heaving from the pain in my head as I crawled down the hall to the kitchen door. I pulled myself up with the kitchen door frame and Dingo until I was standing on my feet, feeling a wave of dizziness as I watched her. I truly thought she could not see Dingo and I, so I was shocked when she addressed me. "Who are you?" she shouted. My whole world just flipped upside down. She repeated, louder, "Who are you?" She shrieked, her mascara running down her face from eyes swollen with tears. Her eyes were so wide she appeared to be mad, insane. "It doesn't matter," she said. Then, her voice lowering, "Nothing matters now." "My head hurts so bad," she cried. She reached up with her hands and gripped her skull. "Why does it hurt so bad?" She reached into the cabinet above her head and took something down. I myself understood. My own headache was intensifying. It had come out of nowhere so fast, I was starting to feel it had something to do with the woman. Suddenly, like she just remembered me, she rushed my body with no warning. She was looking for a fight and appeared not to care if it was a fair match. She ended up going right through me. I again fell to my knees. I was sick, I could not help it or stop it. I saw Dingo rush her. He jumped and then was shocked and confused again when he landed on the floor behind her. He turned and began to growl again, baring his teeth. He ran between us, my heart swelled as I knew he would not desert me. Dingo was doing his best to protect me and could not understand why he could not get a hold on the elusive woman. Dingo chased her away from me, his head whipping left and right when she disappeared from the living room and suddenly appeared back in the kitchen. She grabbed the whiskey bottle and staring at it, she began to laugh as if she had just heard the funniest joke. Then a strange look crossed her face and the laugh died instantly, suddenly. Screaming in a rage, she grabbed the bottle of whiskey and began to pour it all over her head. She grabbed a spectral box of matches, lit one, and went up in flames like a torch. She was turning circles in her pain but was still on her feet. Through the flames, I saw her eyes latch onto mine, and I knew she was going to rush me again. Could she light me on fire? Screaming myself in terror, I bolted the few feet to the front door, ripping it open. I stumbled out with Dingo hot on my trail. I caught my foot and fell forward straight into the arms of a stranger. He half pulled, half carried me out to the sidewalk that runs the length of the road. Dingo was already waiting when we reached the concrete. "It's okay," he said. "You're safe now." He placed me down firmly on my feet. Stammering, I tried to tell this guy what I had just witnessed, but he finished my statement for me, cutting me off. You saw a dark-haired woman try to drown a little boy, you saw the boy fight for his life, and then you saw what she did with the whiskey. I looked at him, shocked. How did you know? He looked at me through tears. Because I was that little boy. He replied sadly. My brow furrowed, I said. I don't understand. I know, he replied. The ghost was my mother. What you witnessed happened in 1973. She got sick, she was diagnosed with inoperable brain cancer. My loving mom became a completely different person. She was the best mom up until then. I need you to know she had once been so loving. She changed with the illness. It was not her fault what happened, or what she tried to do. He reassured me. I went to live with my grandparents on the other side of town and tried to forget the months leading up to what she did, but I did not forget who she was, and that woman you saw in there was not my mom. My mom loved me, he said as a tear rolled down his cheek. But over the years, rumors of a ghostly woman began. I bought the house next door when it became available to keep an eye on this place, and I have been here ever since, watching, trying to figure out how to help her move on. The truth is, I was hoping they would tear the place down, maybe then she would be free. When they started to rebuild the neighborhood, I knew this was going to happen. The man from next door waited with Dingo and I while we gathered our things after daybreak. He said, I was horrified to hear someone had bought the place to renovate as an income property, but then when I saw you were on your own, without kids, I thought maybe that would keep her dormant, but it didn't. I am really sorry. I hugged him, it wasn't your fault. But there is no way, Dingo, and I can live with this, he said he understood. We broke our lease, it was worth the extra money just to get out of there. There was no way, Dingo, and I could share our home with a ghostly burning woman.